You will fail in 2026, not because you are unlucky, not because the world is unfair, but because you will enter it unchanged. Most men think failure arrives suddenly, a bad decision, a missed opportunity, a moment of weakness. That is another lie. Failure is slow, quiet, predictable. It happens when the year changes, but the man does not. 2026 will not destroy you with chaos. It will destroy you with pressure. More noise, more demands, more distractions, less patience for weakness. And if you carry the same habits, the same excuses, the same lack of structure into it, you will not keep up. This is stillness and direction. If you are here for comfort, this will feel harsh. But if you want to know why most men collapse year after year and how to avoid it, stay. And if this way of thinking resonates with you, like the video and subscribe. Not for entertainment, but so you stay connected when discipline starts to slip. Most men fail the future before it arrives. They plan goals, they write resolutions, they promise change. But they never remove the habits that already defeated them. They believe time will save them, that next year will be different by default. It will not. 2026 will amplify who you already are. If you are undisciplined, it will expose it. If you rely on motivation, it will exhaust you. If you depend on willpower, it will break you. The Japanese understood this pattern centuries ago. They did not wait for pressure to arrive to see who they were. They trained for it in advance. Because the future does not reward intention, it rewards structure. Most men are reactive. They change after pain arrives. Warriors changed before. They did not ask how hard the year would be. They asked whether they were ready to meet it unchanged. Modern men build plans. The Japanese built defaults. Defaults that functioned when energy was low, when motivation disappeared, when stress became constant. This is why most men will fail in 2026. They are still negotiating with themselves, still asking how they feel, still waiting for clarity, still believing they will lock in later. Later never comes. The year does not care about your readiness, it only reveals it. If you enter 2026 without discipline that operates automatically, pressure will make decisions for you. Your habits will choose your outcomes. Your defaults will dictate your ceiling. This chapter is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you. Because the men who survive the coming pressure will not be smarter, luckier, or more motivated. They will be structured. And structure must be built before the year begins. This is only the entry point. The next disciplines will show what must be removed, what must be fixed, and what must be decided now so that 2026 does not decide for you. Because the future does not punish ignorance, it punishes delay. Most men think failure comes from not knowing enough, from missing information, from lacking insight. That belief will ruin them in 2026. Because the future does not punish ignorance, it punishes delay. You already know what you should stop doing. You already know what you should start. You already know where you are undisciplined. The problem was never knowledge, it was postponement. Men delayed because delay feels safe. It feels reasonable. It feels harmless. I'll fix it next month. I'll lock in after this phase. I'll start when things slow down. Things will not slow down. 2026 will not give you space to prepare. It will demand output immediately. Pressure does not wait for readiness. It exposes it. The Japanese trained men to fear one thing above all else, entering the future undecided. An undecided man negotiates with pressure. Pressure never negotiates back. When stress rises, the undecided man hesitates. When demands stack, he reacts emotionally. When fatigue hits, he abandons standards. Not because he wants to fail, but because he delayed choosing who he would be. The samurai removed delay at the root. They did not wait for the right season. They did not wait for clarity. They did not wait for motivation. They understood that waiting is a decision disguised as patience, and it always sides with weakness. Modern men delay because they believe time is neutral. It is not. Time compounds habits. If you delay discipline, you compound chaos. If you delay structure, you compound disorder. By the time 2026 arrives, your habits will already be deciding for you. You will not rise to the occasion. You will fall to your defaults. This is why the Japanese built discipline that activated before thought. No debate, no inner discussion, no waiting for agreement. Action occurred because delay was not an option. They understood something brutal. The longer you wait to decide, the more the future decides for you. Most men will reach mid-2026 confused, overwhelmed, and tired, not because life was unfair, but because they kept postponing the hard decisions. Stop negotiating with time. Time always wins. The men who will not fail in 2026 are not the most informed. They are the most decided. They removed delay from their behavior. They replaced waiting with execution. They chose structure over hope. This chapter is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to stop postponing what you already know. Because the future does not care why you waited. It only records that you did. The next discipline goes deeper, because even men who decide early will still fail if their daily structure is weak. And 2026 will test structure harder than intention ever could. Most men believe they fail because they lack discipline. That is not true. They fail because their structure is weak. Discipline is not what saves you when life is calm. Structure is what carries you when life becomes heavy. 2026 will not test your intentions. It will test your systems. What happens when you are tired? What happens when motivation disappears? What happens when pressure becomes daily instead of occasional? Most men have no answer. They rely on willpower. They rely on mood. They rely on urgency. All three collapse under repetition. The Japanese understood this clearly. They did not ask men to become stronger emotionally. They built lives where emotion was irrelevant. Training happened at fixed times. Work followed fixed rules. Rest followed fixed limits. Not because they were rigid, but because structure removes chaos. A man without structure must decide everything every day: when to wake, when to work, when to stop, when to quit. Decision fatigue destroys him long before failure becomes visible. In 2026, the men who will collapse will not collapse loudly. They will quietly fall behind. Missed mornings, shortened effort, lowered standards. Not once, but repeatedly. Structure prevents this decay. A structured man does not ask, "Should I do this?" He executes because the decision was already made. This is why structure feels boring to weak minds. There is no drama, no heroics, no emotional highs, just consistency. But consistency is what compounds. The Japanese built structure to survive famine, war, and isolation. You are struggling to survive distraction. If your structure cannot survive boredom, it will not survive pressure. Most men in 2026 will build plans. Very few will build systems. Plans require belief. Systems require obedience. Belief fluctuates. Obedience endures. This chapter is uncomfortable because it removes excuses. If you fail, it is not because life was unfair. It is because your structure was insufficient. The future does not care how motivated you felt. It only responds to what you did repeatedly. 2026 will not ask if you tried. It will show what you built. The next discipline is harsher, because even structure fails if you refuse to remove what weakens it, and most men protect the very habits that are sabotaging them. Most men try to add their way out of failure. More goals, more routines, more information, more effort. The Japanese knew this instinct was backwards. When something is breaking, you do not add weight, you remove it. 2026 will not break men because they lack ambition. It will break them because they are overloaded. Too many distractions, too many habits that drain energy, too many comforts that dull urgency. And most men refuse to cut any of it. They want discipline without sacrifice. That is not discipline. That is fantasy. The Japanese trained men to ask one brutal question: what in my life weakens me under pressure? Not what feels good, not what is socially acceptable, what weakens me. Late nights, constant stimulation, unnecessary conversations, habits that feel harmless but steal sharpness. These were not tolerated, not because pleasure was evil, but because weakness compounds. A small indulgence repeated daily becomes a structural flaw. By 2026, those flaws will be exposed. The men who fail will say the same things. I didn't see it coming. I don't know where my energy went. I used to be sharper. They will be telling the truth. They just ignored the cause. The Japanese did not negotiate with what weakened them. They removed it quietly. No announcements, no drama, just absence. This is why their discipline looked effortless. There was less friction. Modern men live in constant friction, notifications, noise, endless access. Then they wonder why focus collapses. You cannot build structure on top of constant erosion. The Japanese cut erosion first. They reduced input. They simplified routines. They narrowed commitments. Not to live smaller, but to move cleaner. 2026 will punish cluttered lives, cluttered schedules, cluttered minds, cluttered priorities. You will not rise to the year, you will sink to what you tolerate. This chapter is uncomfortable because it demands subtraction. Not tomorrow, now. What you refuse to remove today will remove your momentum tomorrow. The next discipline goes even deeper, because even after removal, most men still collapse when pressure becomes constant. They remove distractions, but they have never trained endurance. And 2026 will not come in short bursts. It will grind. The final disciplines prepare you for that. Most men think they fail because they quit too early. That is not the real problem. They fail because they were never trained to stay. They are built for bursts. Short effort, temporary focus, quick wins. 2026 will not reward bursts. It will grind. Long weeks, repetitive pressure, progress that feels invisible. And men who have not trained endurance will mistake this grind for failure. They will say, nothing is working. I've lost momentum. Maybe this isn't for me. That voice is not insight. It is untrained endurance speaking. The Japanese did not train men to feel strong. They trained men to remain functional when strength was gone. Endurance was not about pain tolerance. It was about consistency under boredom. Training continued when nothing felt urgent. Work continued when no reward appeared. Discipline remained when enthusiasm died. This is why modern men collapse. They expect progress to feel motivating. They expect effort to feel meaningful. When it doesn't, they stop. 2026 will expose this weakness immediately. The men who survive the year will not be the most intense. They will be the most durable. Durability comes from repetition without drama. The Japanese trained men to repeat correct behavior long after emotion disappeared. Not faster, not harder, longer. Most men never reach their limits. They quit at the first plateau. Endurance training teaches you that plateaus are not failure. They are normal. Silence does not mean stagnation. Boredom does not mean wrong direction. It means the work has become real. The Japanese expected this phase. They prepared for it. Modern men interpret it as a sign to change direction, so they reset, restart, rebrand, and stay weak. 2026 will not allow endless resets. It will demand continuity. If you cannot do the same correct actions day after day without emotional reward, you will collapse. This is why endurance is the final filter, not talent, not intelligence, endurance. The Japanese trained endurance quietly. Cold mornings, long walks, repetitive drills, not to punish the body, but to teach the mind that continuation is normal. Once endurance is trained, pressure loses its power, because nothing feels exceptional anymore. Fatigue becomes expected, difficulty becomes routine, and routine cannot shock you. This is why men trained this way do not panic when life becomes heavy. They have already been there. The final chapter brings everything together, because endurance alone is not enough if you abandon your standards when resistance peaks. The final discipline answers one question: what do you do when everything in you wants to quit? This is where everything you've read so far is tested. Not in intensity, not in motivation, but in resistance. There will come a point in 2026 when nothing feels dramatic anymore. No urgency, no excitement, no visible reward. Just pressure that refuses to leave. This is the moment most men disappear. Not loudly, not in failure, quietly. They lower standards, they shorten effort, they tell themselves they'll return later. They don't. The Japanese prepared for this moment more than any other. They called it holding the line, not pushing forward recklessly, not retreating for comfort, remaining exact. Posture intact, routine intact, standards intact. When boredom sets in, hold the line. When progress feels invisible, hold the line. When no one is watching, hold the line. This is the final separation. Most men think quitting is a decision. It isn't. It's erosion. Small compromises repeated daily until nothing remains. The Japanese trained men to recognize this erosion early. The moment you start negotiating standards, you are already retreating. 2026 will not defeat men with catastrophe. It will defeat them with normality. Days that look ordinary, work that feels repetitive, effort that doesn't feel heroic. Men who need intensity to stay disciplined will vanish here. Men who are structured will remain. This is why acceptance of difficulty mattered so much. If you expect life to feel heavy, it stops shocking you. If you expect progress to be slow, you stop panicking. If you expect resistance to be constant, you stop interpreting it as failure. The Japanese did not romanticize discipline, they normalized it. Discipline was not an event, it was the baseline. This is why their identity didn't fracture under time. They were not waiting to feel aligned. They were aligned. By the time most men realize they are off course, they are already too far gone. The men who will not fail in 2026 will not be louder. They will not be faster. They will not be more inspired. They will be unchanged under pressure. Same wake-up time, same execution, same refusal to negotiate. While others adjust downward, they hold the line. And over time, something quiet but irreversible happens. They separate. Not by talent, not by luck, by refusal to collapse. This is the Japanese method that works when willpower fails, motivation disappears, and the year keeps demanding more. Not because it is clever, but because it is permanent. 2026 will not remember what you planned. It will record what you tolerated. If you tolerate weakness, it will grow. If you tolerate discipline, it will compound. The year is coming. Whether you fail or not has already been decided by what you are willing to hold when no one is forcing you to. Hold the line or disappear.